Hey, so it's been a while since I made a video. Sorry for the long wait on that. It has been a pretty busy last couple of months for me. I was busy retaking and finally passing the SIE, which stands for Securities Essential Exam, in my office. That was the fourth bloody time I had to take it, and I'd gotten two 69s and a 66 before that when you need a 70 to pass. So it was very relieving to finally have that out of the way. And that actually does relate to the overall topic of this video, which I'll get into shortly. Though it may not sound like it, I know. But yeah, as the title of this video suggests, this is going to be kind of a general commentary about this YouTube channel and what my plans are for the future on it. It's about, I think, 5 years old now. I started this in early 2021. So before we go into my future plans, just to kind of backtrack a little on when I started this, I started this back in 2021 when I was working from home. Like a lot of people were during COVID. My life was honestly really, really boring. And the biggest issue going on back then was the fight I'd recently had about my atheist views, which really was one of the biggest reasons I started this channel, was to start having a platform to voice that a little bit more loudly and clearly than I have in other areas of life. And sorry, then of course, I started branching out a little. I made it about, things like incels and my somewhat dysfunctional dating life and how it relates to that topic. And, others as well, sometimes just general little bits of everything. I mean, ultimately, this is just for fun and conversation, as the title suggests. But I was really planning on making this channel a little bit bigger ordeal than it has been. In 2021 and throughout parts of 2022, I was doing quite a few things to slowly and gradually improve the quality of the channel. And I feel on the whole things were headed in the right direction. However, I kind of hit an impasse back in 2022 and that I'm still dealing with to this day. And so that's where I'm going to get into why, this channel has been stalled in its quality and development for the last 4 years, particularly in technical aspects of the quality. Like, obviously my sound is still a problem. My camera quality could afford to be a lot better too. But anyways, by the way, and in order to do this though, I am going to have to go off on a little bit of a rant about my life for the last 4 years. This isn't meant to be a big vain pity party or, just drone on to you about my career or whatever, but I've got to kind of go into it a little bit to explain that. So, I mean, and why it's affected this channel. So if you don't want to hear that, feel free to tune out now, but that's what this is going to have to touch on. I moved to Columbus, Ohio in 2022 to start a new job with my employer, JP Morgan. And it didn't go particularly well. It was a very long year, but nothing super abnormal, just a lot of time and energy spent for a job that didn't go well. So I had to transition at the end of the year to a new job. And the job required you to pass the SIE and Series 7 exam as starting it because it's a FINRA, which is a financial regulatory agency that, has to do with stock trading, etc. But anyways, I had a pretty unfortunate incident at the start of that job. I got a 69 on the SIE and needed a 70 to pass, and JP Morgan has a one and done policy where you're put on unpaid leave the next day, and you have to find a new job within the company. And that's exactly what happened to me. And that was bad enough, but then what really sunk things for me is after I'd accepted another offer with Morgan Stanley, and then resigned with JP Morgan, Morgan Stanley reneged on the offer before I could even start it. And I know that's pretty weird, and it's a hard to explain story of why they did it. It was related to the Silicon Valley Bank collapse, but I'm not going to go into all that. You don't need to know all the details. But we'll just say they reneged at a very bad time for me, which left me unemployed for some months with no financial assistance at all. And it was just terrible. And I had to take a job with Spectrum and Collections just to keep myself from going under. And that Spectrum, the subsidiary of Charter, referring to that company, that deals with cable and internet. And the job, I guess, went okay, but it was just truly a hellish job. I mean, I had a 100% turnover rate. I stayed longer than most people they hired and did better than most people they hired. The only reason it even worked as well as it did is I had a really good relationship with my boss there. He was this really cool, former Air Force special ops guy who was really chilled out and had a good sense of humor, and we jived pretty well. But everything else about the job was horrible. It didn't pay even remotely what they said it would, so I financially was struggling quite a bit. But But anyways, then I eventually left and then started a job with PNC as a branch banker to try to get myself back into the normal realm of my career. And it went horribly. Only 2 months and I got fired. And I do mean fired. I mean, the first time I've ever actually been fired from a job. And it was really for no reason. The person at the branch manager there was just an a-hole. And once she decided I was nowhere used to her, instead of just letting me resign and find a new job like normally goes, because they have to pay unemployment assistance, and they did if they fire you without justification. And in this case, she was so stupid she just did it that way because she didn't care if she screwed me over, which, like I said, it backfired because then the state of Ohio ruled that I definitely qualified for unemployment assistance, and then PNC has to pay that. So I'm sure she got raked over the coals for that, and she deserved it. Not to sound like a sour grape, but I mean, she was pretty awful. She came in one day before the day even started, gave me 15 minutes to wrap up my affairs, threw me out on my ass, and was even really rude and mean about the whole thing. Just awful. And this was only 2 months into the job, so you really, unless you've done something horrible like take a shit on your boss's desk or something, being fired like that in the first 2 months is just something that's not supposed to happen most of the time. But okay, but and I know I'm just about done. We're almost to present day. But then after that, I moved, from Ohio to Arizona to start my new job with Bank of America Merrill Lynch. It's another call center job, and I didn't want to take a call center job because I knew I probably wouldn't love it. But I was trying to get back in to a role that would let me take the SIE and Series 7 exams to kind of get that situation stitched back to normal. And on the whole, it's worked out okay, but it's been a little over a year, but been so miserable. I mean, I've kind of learned the hard way. Call center work depresses me more than almost anything on the planet. I have found that, it literally just, I hate it. I hate it more than just about anything I've ever done. And it puts me in a really dark place some days. And it's just because call centers operate in such incompetent, depressing, and stupid ways. They never tell you everything is dysfunctional. They never try to fix any of the dysfunctional problems. It was the same at Spectrum and at this B of A Merrill call center job, which, to be honest, this is a much more normal one than that one was. But for instance, I'm not even in the job role they said I was going to be in. I was supposed to be in one where I dealt with stock purchase plans. Instead, I deal with people's 401k plans all day. It pays a good clip less than they said it would because I was supposed to take and pass the Series 7 at the start of when I did this job, and then I get a pay bump after I do that. However, I am not just now getting around to it. It's past my 1 year mark, so it was at least about a 10 grand difference, which I have felt that difference, unfortunately, over the last year. Phoenix, Arizona is more expensive than Columbus, Ohio, and the cost of living differences, I have felt it, So, again, I'm almost done ranting about my life. Okay, just give me a second. All right, this is how this relates to the channel, okay? I have to explain this, in order to kind of let you know why things have been the way they've been with my channel for some years now. I finally am getting to the point, what started things really going on a just horribly downward spiral for me really was the whole incident with the SIE exam. And I finally have that bugger knocked out, though it took everything I had. And I can't believe it took me 3 tries. And the Series 7 is harder than the SIE, but to be honest, I have a much better basis that I'm prepared for with it. And I almost do better on harder exams because there's more time on the Series 7 than the SIE. So I don't want to get overconfident. I have to take it very seriously for the next month. I'll be working very, very hard. But I probably have a pretty good chance of passing it as long as I do everything, as long as I stay on the straight and narrow. And once that is done, I do plan on making this channel a more serious focus again. In some point in 2025 and, into 2026, because I do think that'll finally be a big step towards normalizing my life and career. Because once I pass the Series 7, I can look at it within Bank of America or at other companies for a different role that doesn't make me want to off myself every day. And I'm not actually just being totally cliche. I've had more, sorry to be TMI or whatever, but I've had more suicidal deviations for the past 3 years than I've had at any other point in my life. But I seriously, need to move on from my current job and to get things normalized overall in my life and career, because that's the point of why I'm totally, going on this big ramble to you about my life for the last 3 years. It's not to be a big pity party or, be a vain, telling you of my past exploits or whatever. it's to mostly explain to you that I have really been pushed further to the brink than I ever have, and I haven't had much time and energy for a lot of things. I was hoping in my early to mid 30s to do more to develop my dating and social life. I haven't been able to do much there. There's been so many days that I've been just not only just working hard and stressed with work, but just been so miserable that it's just drained the life force from me. I mean, being fired between jobs, having to apply to every other job just to keep myself from going under, just being utterly miserable in the job roles that I'm in. There's just been one awful thing after the next for 3 or 4 years, and I've honestly never been through anything like this before in my life. I mean, usually, there's only so much bad stuff that can happen with your career, but if it just keeps happening and happening and happening and happening and happening and happening over the course of an extended time period, it really becomes a draining force on you, you know. And that's why this channel has stalled a lot over the last 3 years. It's not just this channel, it's my life that has stalled for the last 3 years. And I know it's not an excuse necessarily. I mean, just because you're stressed with work, you can go out and have a social life. You can develop things like this channel better. It's not like it's literally wasn't possible. I know I'm kind of using it as an excuse. But to be fair, I mean, sometimes when you're just being pushed to your absolute limits in life, it's really hard to do a whole lot of other things. And I've been pushed further to my limits in recent years than at any other point in my life. But I think this is finally starting to wind down. I really, really hope. I know life's never perfect. There's going to be more stress with my life and career going forward. But I just need things to get to the point where I'm not just constantly questioning if I'd be happier as a hobo than what I'm doing with my career, And if also to the point that I'm not, just constantly struggling for financial, just basic financial existence as well. But again, the Series 7, getting this knocked out, for where I am right now in my career, I'll save you all the trouble of going through all that, but it'll be a very good good marker point for where I am to getting things normalized. And then being past the 1 year mark within B of A, I'll be free to look at other positions now within the company. And I think things will begin to normalize. Hopefully by this time in 2026, things will have fully normalized for me, or mostly normalized. And hopefully after the Series 7 this year, things will also begin to quickly normalize for me. That is my sincerest hope. And where this relates to this channel is then I will be able to actually, for the first time, begin to start dedicating some real time and energy to improving this channel. Because, I know you guys deserve better than this. And I know the channel quality here has been really bad ever since I started it. And again, I didn't intend for it to stay this low quality for this long. I knew that it's always going to be a side hobby, okay? It's never probably going to be the central focus of my life. I've got plenty of other problems to deal with in life, and I probably always will. But I intended it to be a lot better than this. I didn't intend to just leave it at a 1990s type quality with sound and picture. I did intend to have a little bit better organized script and maybe occasionally collaboration with other channels and all that kind of good stuff. But those plans have all been shelved now for a long while, and it's just been me ranting on camera now for about 4 years. And I appreciate those of you that have still listened to the rants and all that. And to some extent, this, like I said, it'll always be limited in quality, but I can promise you that if things do start to normalize for me, not just after the Series 7 is done and when I start a new job, hopefully sometime afterwards this year, I will start to dedicate real time and energy to researching this job, maybe coming up with some new topics, for my channel, for trying to make the scripts and notes a little bit better planned out rather than just random rants, and to try to really start making this channel grow and become a little bit more of a moderately successful small channel, because I get enjoyment out of this. I get enjoyment out of reading your comments. I get enjoyment out of making the videos and having a platform to express my feelings about things and to talk and learn, and essentially, a safe place to talk about it without getting fired from my job or getting ostracized from friends and family or whatever, who, by the way, none of them actually have ever seen my channel. And I intend on keeping it that way for a long while, until the channel, until I have a good reason to let them actually see it. But anyways, I do thank you again for, the years that you've watched this channel and put up with the low quality. And like I said, I do promise you that as soon as I get to a point where I feel that life has begun to normalize for me, and I'm not either on the verge of bankruptcy or the verge of killing myself. And unfortunately, I'm exaggerating a little, being a little cliche and dramatic here, but I'm not as much as I wish I was. You know, I promise you that I will begin to increase the focus of, you know, that I put in my life on this channel. And I think that will be very soon. I think it will be sometime this year in 2025, maybe in just as little as a month or two. However, you know, at the very, very least, I can't say it's going to be one more month, because the first step to normalizing this all will getting that Series 7 knocked out. If I don't pass it, I mean, I don't know exactly what will happen. It probably won't be good. I mean, my life, I don't think it'll ruin my life and career as much as when I didn't pass the SIE, but it'll unfortunately be, I don't know. There'll be complications. We'll just put it that way. We'll just cross that bridge when I come to it, you know, but I think I'll pass it. And once I pass it, I think there will be a whole lot of changes that will start to happen, both with this channel and with my life. And again, thank you for all of you who have watched over the years. And I really hope to look forward to continuing this channel and being able to present to you much higher quality videos and content in the future than I've thus far been able to give you. But as usual, thanks for watching. And hopefully I'll see you in about a month or two with some good news. Bye.